Welcome to Backyard Bushcraft. I'm Justin Schmidt with MSCR's Outdoor Programs, and today I'm going to be teaching you what I consider to be one of the handiest knots. Okay, this is really a series of two knots I'm going to be teaching you, each called a hitch. First one is a trucker's hitch, and it's going to be finished off with a mule hitch. And I find these two knots to be some of the handiest knots that I've been using while camping. I've been using them for years, and I find not only are they easy to put together, what's really great about them is they're really easy to take apart. Okay, because sometimes you can have some trouble with knots and getting those apart. So that's why I really love this. Not only does it tie things down nice and tight, but it's really easy to release. Okay. So these two knots that we're using the trucker's hitch and the mule knot, which I'll get into here a little bit. But what would you use these knots for? Well, you could be putting up a tarp. And when you're putting up a tarp, you'll want to have it nice and tight so that if it does rain, rain will bead right off of it. This is also really useful if you're tying anything to your roof rack on your car or the roof of your car or to a trailer. You can also use these to guy out lines from a tent. There's all sorts of uses that you could even use at home. So what we'll be doing is I'm going to show you some rope terminology, okay, before we get started, and then I'm going to show you how to tie them. Okay, let's introduce some rope terminology. I've got 4 terms for you today. The first one is a bight of rope. That's B-I-G-H-T. To create a bight of rope, you just fold the rope back on itself. So you have 2 pieces of rope, right, that are alongside itself but not crossing. A bight of rope. The second term is a loop of rope. A loop of rope is created by twisting, creating a loop where the ropes cross over themselves. That is a loop of rope. Tail end, okay, we've got the tail end of the rope. This is the end of the rope that we're working on knotting, okay, towards the end of the rope here. And then finally, your standing end is the opposite end of the rope. The rope is heading away from the knot that you're working on. Next up, let's actually tie this knot. All right, let's go ahead and tie that trucker's hitch that's finished off with a mule hitch. I went ahead and tied it in advance just so you can see what it looks like. Okay, I've got my tail end here going around the tree. I've created a loop in the rope. Okay, I pulled it through that loop in the rope and then tied it off with this mule hitch. Okay, what's great about this mule hitch, it's quick release. All you do is grab the tail, pull down, and it releases. Okay, so let's get started with the trucker's hitch. The start of a trucker's hitch is to tie an overhand knot on a bight with a loop sticking out, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a bight of rope right here, twisting our tail end back, okay? And where you place this loop in the rope is gonna be usually about 2 to 3 feet away from the object you're tying to, okay? But for the sake of the camera, I'm doing it a little closer so you can see. So I make this bight, okay? I'm gonna take that bight, I'm gonna go over the standing end and around the tail end and back through this loop here. Okay, there, now I've got a loop tied into the rope. Okay, I'm gonna take my tail end, take it around the tree. I'm gonna pull that tail end through my loop in the rope, and this is where I'm putting it on tension. Okay, I'm getting it nice and tight. I'm pulling my tarp really nice and tight, and you can see I've got the tail end pulled through the loop, so that's nice and on tension. Now this would be the trucker's hitch. If you look this up online and saw some videos, you see a couple different ways to tie this off. You can half hitch it, amongst other things. I personally like the mule hitch because it results in a quick release knot, okay? And again, a mule hitch is really just creating a loop and pulling a bight of rope through the loop. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, once I get it nice and tight where I like it, I'm going to pinch at the loop where the tail goes through. Okay, that's just gonna hold it in place. I'm then gonna take the tail and I'm gonna twist it to make a loop. I'm gonna pull that loop up and over the rope. I'm gonna grab the tail end with my 2 fingers, and I'm gonna grab it and make it a bight and pull that bight up through the loop. And voila, you have tied off your trucker's hitch with a mule hitch. And at the end of the day, in order to release it, all you have to do is pull that tail. All right, so that's the trucker's hitch and the mule hitch.